and I didn't even know about it till I stumbled upon it in the morning. They were playing, things like Wagon Train and all the old Western shows. And right in the middle of it all, there was Branded. So
That's
I got
great.
a big kick out of seeing it was out there entertaining people after all these years. And of course, all the episodes of Branded are available from shoutfactory.com. And they're just putting out a series that I wrote for called The Defenders, which was on CBS way back. It was on for 5 years.
Choice of
and won the Emmy Award every year, and it was the first big show I ever wrote for. And they're putting out all the episodes, 5 years worth of episodes. And in those days, we used to make 36 episodes a year. Today, they're making 10 episodes of shows and 16 episodes of shows. In those days, we made 36 one-hour shows every year, and the hour shows were actually about 54 minutes long, and it was 6 minutes of commercials. Today, the hour shows are about 44 minutes long, and 16 minutes of commercials. So we had a lot more show for the hour, and we did a lot more shows every season. It was amazing that we could turn out that many shows.
Yeah.
And with something like Blue Light, which was a World War II spy thriller, it was a half-hour show, and I don't think there's any dramatic half-hour shows on television anymore. I don't think economically that anybody can afford to make a dramatic show that's 30 minutes long for television. They're all hour shows.
Yes.
But we were making half-hour shows. Branded was a half-hour, and so was Blue Light.
You mentioned I, the Jury. Is that based on a Mickey Spillane novel?
That's the one.
Oh yeah, I read that book. Of course, I read quite a few of his books, but that was that. I probably saw the movie too.
That was Mickey. I, the Jury was the first Mike Hammer book.
Mike Hammer, yeah.
And according to the statistics, I, the Jury is the largest-selling mystery novel ever written.
Yeah.
Sold more copies than any other mystery ever written. And it's been quoted in many areas, and they've done skits on it. There was a famous movie called The Bandwagon where Fred Astaire and Sid Charisse danced to a Mickey Spillane ballet, and there was many takeoffs on Mike Hammer, and TV series based on Mike Hammer and stuff. But I reinvented the character after all those years and brought it back, and I think it was one of the better Mike Hammer movies ever made.
Yeah, and you did that one, huh?
I did it.
Yeah, well, congratulations. Congratulations.
But I didn't have anything to do with Mickey Spillane. He had sold the rights years before, and I just bought the rights from the person who then owned it, and so I never got to deal with Mickey Spillane.
So I also understand.
I wish I had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Hey, listen, Larry. Again, we're talking to Larry Cohen, a famous movie producer, writer, director. Larry, speaking of reinventing characters, when you do like a sequel, to let's perhaps say something like Maniac Cop, or what was the other one that you did? Not It's Alive, but the was it It's Alive? No.
We made three It's Alive.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
We made two sequels to that. Yeah.
When you do that,
then I did a sequel to Stephen King's Salem's Lot.
Salem's Lot.
Return to Salem's Lot. Yeah. But it really didn't have much to do with the original Stephen King book. I more or less took the name of the town and wrote an original.
Right. That's where I was going with that question is, when you reinvent a character, do you do the same thing when you're writing a sequel? Do you have to reinvent characters, or do you just kind of roll with it?
Well, no, I wouldn't do it if I couldn't reinvent it, because I don't want to just retrace somebody else's steps.
Exactly.
I don't want to do a rehash of what somebody else has already done. I want to be creative and be able to be free to invent and do whatever I want with the character. So with I, the Jury, I had free reign to do whatever I wanted with the character, and Mike Hammer was nothing like anybody else's.
Sure. Let me ask you another question, if you don't mind. I
do mind, but what can I do about it? I'm trapped.
You're trapped. Well, that's how we feel. We're in a very tiny studio on the third floor of an old building in Newport Richey, Florida. We call it the Dump Towers. I'm
in a closet. I'm in a closet here in the basement someplace with a hood over my head. I'm just. I hope I get out of here alive. But whatever it is, they told me they're going to put me on the radio. So
we have. I just want to express we have no liability issues with anything that happens to Mr. Cohen during the show. That is not on us. Anyway, Larry. Now I understand you were born in was it 1941? Am I right?
That's a good year.
Yeah. Okay. You're about the same age.
That was a good year to be born. Wasn't it?
I would think so. Yeah.
I think we went to war, didn't we?
Yeah, we're just about to go to war.
That's
Yeah.
when the Japs bombed Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, right before that, you were a baby.
I was too young.
Well,
they tried to draft me, but I was 3. So.
Well, I'm glad that didn't happen at the time. Let me ask you though, as you're living out your golden years, okay? I know if you're born in the 40s, you're probably close to 70 years old, give or take a few years, whatever. Same age as my dad. And what are your plans now? Are you going to keep working, or are you just going to sit back and relax and enjoy all the work you've done and let things like this Blu-ray release kind of take care of you? What are your plans?
Oh no! I'm writing screenplays all the time.
There you go, man.
And yeah, I never stop writing. I'm working all the time. And as far as directing films, I might do it, but I have some doubts about doing it the same way I did before when I had my own company and I produced my own films, because there's so much piracy going on now.
Yeah.
That you could make a picture and spend a lot of time on it, and also spend a lot of people's money, and then have the damn thing show up on the internet one morning unexpectedly and destroy all the intrinsic value of the piece. All you have to have is somebody that's pissed off at you, who happens to pass through the editing room and come out with a disc in their pocket, and the next thing you know, you're on the internet all over China, all over Europe, all over the United States, and nobody wants to distribute the pictures. So you could get a tremendous financial bath for something like that.
Yeah, you definitely.
It's very scary. It's okay if you have a big picture where you spend a couple of $100 million to make the film, because a big company like Fox or Paramount or Universal, they can absorb the loss from the piracy. But a small picture like the ones I make, we can't handle a piracy event, so we could get wiped out, and it's too dangerous. So I prefer to just write the scripts now and let other people make the pictures.
It makes a lot of sense, business-wise. Let me ask you this. One of the biggest films, in my opinion, that you are responsible for helping produce and make is the movie Phone Booth. Now, where does that fall in the whole piracy thing for you? That was back in 2002. It was a little bit different times back then, 14 years ago.
Well, it was, but it didn't matter. 20th Century Fox bought it for $1 million.
There you go.
So I got paid off, and I didn't direct the film, but I was fortunate that the director of the film was kind enough to let me visit the set and have input into the making of the picture.
Yeah.
And I wasn't excluded from the process, and I also got paid up front, so
That's
I didn't
nice.
have to worry very much about the piracy thing. I didn't like the fact that pictures are being pirated. I don't find that amusing.
No.
What did happen though was just before the picture was about to be released, there became a series of sniper killings in the Washington, D.C. area.
Yeah, I remember that.
Guys with high-powered rifles were shooting people on the parkways.
Yeah.
And since the villain in our film, Kiefer Sutherland played the part, was actually a guy with a sniper who was up in a window holding the man hostage in a phone booth. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a bad idea to release the picture when people were suffering, their relatives being killed by this sniper in the Washington area. So when I was asked by the New York Times and other publications what I thought, well, they should postpone the release of the film till this is over. And 20th Century Fox wasn't too happy with my comments, but they did pull the picture, and they did release the picture a couple of months later successfully. But sometimes things can happen in real life that mirror what happens in a picture.
Yeah. And
you got to be really careful that you don't do anything to incite violence in this crazy world we're living in.
Well, I'm glad that as a professional that you have that kind of an opinion, because of all the times that I've known at 41 years old, about almost 41, there's never been a more what's the word I'm looking for, Jay? There's never been more of a dangerous time for if you want to say inciting violence or just there's so many things going on, all this anti-cop stuff, all this negativity.
I know, but people keep saying that, but you got to remember, I'm looking back at a time when one after the other. President Kennedy was assassinated. His brother was assassinated. Martin Luther King was assassinated. Malcolm X was assassinated. There was a string of murders of prominent people that was coming on almost on a regular basis. The whole country was in uproar over this Vietnam War. People were being battered by the police in the streets. It was a much worse time than we have today.
Yeah, and that
more frightening, much more terrifying. And there was mad bombers, and there's been a history of mad bombers and people blowing up government installations over the years. It's all being, capsulized now and focused upon in the media.
It is.
To such a degree that you think that this was something new. But we've been living with this kind of terror off and on all my adult life.
Yeah, and that's why I said that. The way I said it is, in my personal experiences, growing up in the 80s and being a Generation X type guy and now being 40 years old, I wasn't there to see that happen. I remember Reagan getting assassinated, but I was a child. And so
he wasn't killed. He was
assassinated.
He was shot. He was
shot pretty good, though. I'll say that.
Yeah. So for me, it's disheartening to see so much focus, like you said, encapsulated, where we have things new nowadays, like social media, and it seems like every other day there's some kind of negative post of something. You don't see the good stuff, is what I'm trying to say. You only see the negative stuff.
The thing today is that social media, and everybody having a computer or an iPhone or a laptop or whatever, there's so much information being put out every day to everybody, and you would be surprised at the amount of inaccurate information that's on the internet. Lies, pure lies that are being sent out on the internet, and people just believe what they read. They don't check it out. So, and then they send that information on to somebody else, and and pretty soon, all this misinformation and this craziness is being transmitted, and it's really, really weird. I mean, to see what goes on. So I guess the difference between now and back then is this internet thing, which is not altogether good.
I agree.
There's too many lies being foisted around and driving people crazy. But I will admit there have never been so many shootings in schools and universities as there seem to be right now. And I think it's because of some of the computer games the kids are growing up with, which have so much killing going on. There's just so much violence.
Could be, yeah.
There's so much murder. I mean, the number 2 television show in America is The Walking Dead, and they must kill at least 40 or 50 human beings every show. I mean, that's nothing but butchery.
Larry, technically they're zombies,
It's a great show. It's a wonderful show. It's beautifully done.
Of course,
But the level of violence was unheard of years ago. When I was writing television, you couldn't do any of that kind of stuff. Today, there's so much violence on television, and so many murders every night on television, and so much violence in computer games that it's just quite unbelievable. And so it's not, to me, it's not that there's so much violence going on, it's that there's so little going on compared to the amount of violence that we're being exposed to in the fictitious area of life. It's like there's too much stuff going on there that I think they ought to kind of hold back on it a bit. I personally also think that the reason for all these sex crimes that we've seen now that we didn't used to see before is because of the freedom of pornography. There's so much pornographic material on the internet, and before it was just you had to go out to a porno theater or you had to go buy porno videos. You'd have to go to some sleazy store. But now you check into any hotel, you can see porno movies in the hotel room. You can see porno movies on the internet. There's so much pornography, and there's a lot of people who are sitting alone in their little apartment getting all worked up with this pornography, and they don't have any outlet for it, so they go out and they murder some poor girl. I mean, that's It's very sick. You know, once you stir people up